Chad, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure. We've got a lot to unpack today. You've got some exciting developments in your career journey. You're stepping into the world of running a business, which we'll explore. So, how's the first week going?
Oh man, it's been probably like one of the most exciting weeks of my life. I mean, to be like 12 years in corporate and then go out and start your own business it's exciting. It's exhilarating. It's a new challenge. As you know, there's just so many little things that are going on, from administrative stuff to just all the creative launching, events. So it's been so exciting, and I'm so thankful for all the support from the community, my family, my friends. Like it's just been great to see. So
Amazing. Well, we'll unpick a bit more about the business further down the line, but I always
yeah,
like to start, for anyone that doesn't know you, I know a lot of people in Australia will know you, but for anyone, listeners overseas or people that haven't come across you before, can you tell me a bit about your background, both pre-Salesforce and then kind of moving into the Salesforce career that you've had?
yeah, sure. I mean, I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for a very long time, pretty much the whole time of my professional career, really. I started working at Accenture right out of university. And right before university, I was really actually into entrepreneurship in college. I actually started a business with a few associates called My College Homepage, which was like a fun website that people could set as their homepage on their browsers, which had all these quick links to their school courses and restaurant deals and things. So I've always been super passionate about entrepreneurship, and I helped small businesses create websites. And then, yeah, right after I graduated university, I went right into Accenture. I've always been so passionate about like technology and how it can be used to make our lives better. And I was like really excited about consulting as well, like just the ability to like go from one project to another, being able to solve like complex problems, and get a variety of different experiences, is something I've always been, really motivated by. When I joined Accenture, I got on a project at a large insurance company as a business analyst. I was just helping write use cases and understanding their business processes. It was like a completely different world, trying to learn all the concepts of insurance and talking to all these like business and technology owners as like a fresh grad. I remember how much of a good learning experience that was. I think everyone should be like a business analyst at some point to really try to understand, those use cases and the value you're getting from them. But I was able to actually get on my first Salesforce project as a tester, believe it or not. So I started off as a system tester on a project. I knew I wanted to actually start specializing in a specific technology, and Salesforce was like really getting a lot of notoriety at the time, and I loved like working with a new platform. And actually testing like really helped me learn how to use Salesforce, like writing all the test scripts, going through the buttons. It was just such a good way to learn. I moved into the Accenture Salesforce business group. That was now 11, 12 years ago, to now where I was leading innovation and the marketing cloud team across the Asia Pacific for Accenture. So it was a incredible, time with Accenture. I got such great experience in a variety of different roles and industries and projects that have kind of led me to where I'm at today.
Yeah, nice. And obviously, like you said, you've been exposed to lots of different projects over the years, lots of different challenges. I know, as you mentioned, you were leading a marketing cloud group towards the end of your time at Accenture, but that wasn't all you did over the years. You'd kind of worked across a number of different Salesforce products, and like you
Yeah.
said, innovation being at the core. What are
Yeah.
some of the biggest challenges that you've faced and also solved with Salesforce in those 11, 12 years?
I call myself the accidental marketer. I started my career doing like sales and service implementations. And then I got an opportunity to build a new product with Salesforce called distributed marketing. Some of you might be familiar with it, but distributed marketing is the concept of going from one marketer sending an email to 1,000 customers to more of like an individual sending direct personalized communications of marketing journeys from that individual. So if you think of like a financial advisor who actually owns the relationship with the customer, they can send their book of business on a marketing journey. And I just like fell into building that product. It's such a unique experience going to market and building something with the Salesforce product team. Um, and I think that was a huge challenge within itself. I've always loved being on the forefront of innovation and doing new things. And that was in itself going to market with a new product. There's all these, quirks and testing and making sure the usability of the solution. It ended up winning like a partner innovation award, which was awesome. But that was a challenge to actually, work a lot with the new Salesforce technology. And also the same has happened for me with a lot of different products. I did the first financial services cloud implementation, helping pioneer marketing personalization when they bought Thunderhead and Evergage, building custom AI demos as well, especially when they launched Net Zero Cloud. I've done the first Net Zero Cloud implementation. I've always been fascinated about doing and pioneering a lot of the new technology. And so that the challenge of doing that is that some of the products just aren't fully working yet. There's all these issues. So, working through bridging the gap between like what Salesforce has and initially launches and then what the customer is expecting is something I've always tried to help do, and being the bridge between that, which has been a tough thing. And I just say in general, like some of the other big challenges I've had is just dealing a lot with integration and companies like legacy systems. I always think that's the hardest part about any transformation is integration. Dealing with their legacy systems, I had to do a custom sharing model based upon a legacy system, and it's just like that stuff is very complex. Takes a long time to test. It's so much harder than just configuring Salesforce like workflows, I feel like. And, I think the third thing might just be like doing some big transformations that have been global across multiple regions, making sure it's like scalable, the training to do across like, 12 different regions. That stuff is, I think some of the challenges that I've enjoyed facing in my time.
100%. I think one of the things that stood out to me when we first spoke was like the scale of things you'd done in the US. And I remember asking you the question, like, when you came to Australia, obviously the scale here in terms of like user base, like
Yeah.
regions, things like that is often a fair bit smaller than what you see in the US and Europe.
Yeah.
Was that my question is more around like what has motivated you to stay with Salesforce, but I guess like the innovation of Salesforce enables you to keep innovating.
Yeah.
But was there ever a time when you thought like I'm going to look outside and do something else, or what's kept you coming back and doing more Salesforce stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's no, I haven't really felt like that. I feel like Salesforce has grown so much since I first started, and the evolution that I've had in my career is I've always been trying to like be known for something at that time, and I've grown as well my skills with the way that Salesforce has grown their product suite, and I feel like I've always stayed motivated because I'm always interested in doing a lot of the newer things. More recently with Net Zero Cloud, that's something, sustainability wasn't really a part of my core skill set, but it's something I'm so passionate about, and having to learn, the concepts of scope 1 and 2, 3 emissions and how to classify all this data, how to implement it. That's something I really spent a lot of time learning, trying to implement, and we did the first implementation of Net Zero Cloud for a utility company here. Even the scale of that project wasn't like a big, enterprise, like 10,000 seater. The mission of what we were trying to accomplish and the innovation that we're doing to make sure we're like helping unify their emissions data and actually make an impact on the environment. Like that's something for me that was like, I want to help with this and I want to learn how to do this and lead this. That's what kept me motivated. And now, obviously, with like data and Gen AI, I've wanted to explore how we can leverage this new technology as well. So that's something I've really spent a lot of time learning and staying motivated to do.
How do you approach that? Because, like you said, you've had to learn things that not other people necessarily haven't done before you, right? So there's not like a there's not breadcrumbs leading you to the solution. It's you're kind of having to learn it on the fly. So how have you approached learning the newest technologies quickly?
Yeah, no, it's a super good question. I think you had like a meme or something on LinkedIn about like people who've been like super certified with no experience and people with experience with like not that many certs. I think I fall probably in the latter category. I'm more of just like the hands-on like approach. Like I like getting, I'm a very visual learner. Like I'll get in, get access to an environment, explore the model, like the data model. I'll explore the connections. Like I'll try to build the demo and work with people and talk through it. Like let's like I like jumping on with people that have different skill sets who we can collaborate on and I think just talking through that. How things work and building it to me, then I'm like, okay, now I know how to do it. I still think it's obviously like fundamental to like understand these like the core concepts. Like when it comes to net zero and sustainability or AI, there's so many. It's like a new world of concepts to understand, new vocabulary, new prompts and retrieval augmented generation LLMs. It's like you got to learn the fundamental concepts. But to me, very like hands on. Like to learn and explore to evolve my skill set and what I know.
So, what are you? Obviously, you've mentioned a few like net zero cloud, Gen AI, data cloud is an area I'm interested in exploring with you because I know I
Yeah,
saw a post you put up about a data cloud project you worked on. But what is most exciting to you right now in terms of some of the newer technologies, and what are the use cases of these technologies that are really exciting you?
I always say like we've always talked about this concept of customer 360. It's been around forever, but I kind of say that the meaning of it has changed. Like we're in a time where it used to mean like consolidating, your sales, service, and marketing interactions. Today, companies have more access to data than ever. There's like real time, like behavioral data you get from a website. There's data you get from partners. There's the data you collect on your owned assets like mobile apps and your websites and your CRM. There's marketing engagement data, e-commerce data. There's just everything here. It's the amount of data, the scale, and the types of data has just changed the way we think about customer 360. And traditionally in CRM, it hasn't been you haven't been able to store that amount and types of data, and that's where data cloud like comes into play. And I think one of the problems people have is being able to have that unified view and having access to it. One of the things I think I've loved trying to help people with is going from an idea to getting value and shortening that time to it. And like what I mean by that is being able to actually say, oh, hey, I want to target this segment or use this data to drive an action. Being able to actually have that data unified and accessible to a business team and being able to take action on it, whether that's driving like a personalized communication or insights, that's really powerful. And I think data cloud is really, it's like the new, it's not necessarily like a new concept. Like customer data platforms and data lakes have been around for a long time, but I still think that companies, this is the one of the biggest things companies struggle with. Going through like my second data cloud implementation right now, I guess third if you count the data management platform Crux, but um, the the challenge is really about like how do we get that all that data unified in there together. So it's just like so important. And some of the use cases we're looking at is reducing integration complexity, right? How do creating operational efficiencies? Like how do you gain insights from that information? But how do you drive like personalized communications as well? So I think we're just in this like new time where we can bring it all together and really help companies drive like insights and actions.
So you mentioned obviously there's so much data, there's so much technology available to companies still, and but companies are still struggling with this. Do you think it's like a cost thing? Is it an expertise? Like, because everyone would love to have a connected customer experience, right? That's
Yeah,
probably like what's driving most companies at the moment, is to give that experience to their customers, but it's not happening all the time. Is
yeah.
that just a lack of knowledge, lack of appreciation for what can be achieved now, or is it just purely because, like you said, that we're now moving into that time where it's accessible and people can enable that?
Yeah. No, I think the core challenge I think is about silos, right? Like I think you see a lot of companies have like, okay, I have a CRM system, I have a marketing platform, I have a digital experience, but there's this like disconnectivity of these different systems. Like I've talked to some of the biggest enterprises to some of the smallest companies, but they're running all these different software itself is like there's, I think it's becoming easier to create and easier to access. And so you have all these different applications, but still not a lot of it's like connected in the right way. Right. And that's the challenge of why experiences are still disconnected for a customer. So if I call into a contact center and they say, like, that the service agent doesn't know what products you've purchased, what people of sales have contacted you, what you've even done on the website. Um, the reason for that is that companies operate still in silos in terms of business functions. Like the marketing team doesn't talk to the sales team. The sales team is not talking to the service team that well. And so what I like to like look at from the start is like, what is like a great experience for the customer look like? And how do these business functions actually support that? Okay, well, marketing sends this lead and then that, that campaign, and then they land on the digital experience and then it goes into the CRM. And so like my view is like, how do we like connect all the systems to make things like seamless for the customer? And I think every customer I talk to is still having this challenge because they operate so siloed, but also because the systems themselves don't talk to each other. Right. So we don't have that full view.
I had an experience recently. I bought a house, and within a week of me like finalizing the purchase, I got a call from the same real estate company telling me about another house,
Oh my God. Yeah, that's
and
it.
I was just like,
Yeah.
"That's that shouldn't be happening."
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone's experienced it. I think everyone feels a bit of frustration with, you know, one, communications not being personalized, not being relevant. I always call it like the wrong message, the wrong channel at the wrong time. That's something I kind of work on with my customers, and there's just this feeling of disconnectedness. Like I've actually kind of coined this phrase called the ambition gap. It's like customers expect this kind of Airbnb Uber like experience. It's like something that's like seamless, it's relevant, that Netflix recommendations, it's personalized, but the ability for organizations to deliver that is very difficult because their data is not unified, so they don't know everything about that customer. It's very siloed, right? And they don't have the right like technology capability or skills and processes to deliver that. So there's this like big gap between where organizations want to be and what customers expect, and like where I feel like my job is to help kind of close that gap, by first helping unify the data, bringing them the right capabilities and technology, and then helping them update their processes and their skills to how to do that. To me, like those are like the three ingredients to drive great personalized communications, and close that ambition gap.
So, would you say data cloud is absolutely pivotal to, if customers are using Salesforce, like to really now, and obviously if they've got other technology to pull in the data from, like is data cloud now going to be absolutely pivotal to really nailing that customer experience?
I think so. I think you can do some things with just CRM and marketing cloud, right? Like you can, but I think we see like a lot of organizations where it's hard to bring in like people who use Marketing Cloud as like a data lake and a segmentation tool. It's very complex, especially in the enterprise space. And I think at the end of the day, you want systems to be easy to use. And so, like, a data cloud is meant to be used by a business team, right? Like, the difference between a data lake and a data cloud or, like, customer data platform is that the data cloud is actually supposed to be used by a business team, to actually build the segments, to actually activate the data, to gain insights from it. And using a Marketing Cloud platform or CRM, you don't have that full view, and it's more complex to do it. So I do think that Data Cloud's like a pivotal thing for solution for companies that are trying to drive personalized communications, um, especially because you can activate it across like more variety of different channels, right? So um, whether that be like paid media, like advertising channels, or personalization, or email, SMS, or WhatsApp, things like that. So I think that's going to be a big part of company strategies moving forward.
What's stopping everyone just going out and buying Data Cloud and implementing it? Like, what's the barrier to standing it up and making it actually useful?
Cost is one thing. I think it's a different model in terms of like consumption. I do feel like customers are a bit confused on also like the ROI from it, because there's like a variety of different use cases. Um, you really need to nail what are the use cases. Okay, hey, we are looking to drive case deflection, through preemptive communications with Data Cloud, and we're looking to gain operational efficiencies, or we're looking to drive personalized communications on these channels. Like, what are the metrics that you're trying to achieve out of Data Cloud? What are the use cases? I think, given my experience, a lot of times the customers buy Data Cloud and they're not fully sure on the metrics they want to achieve out of it, the use cases, and also the costs. I think the setup of it, technically is actually the easiest part of standing up Data Cloud. Like, there's a lot of out of the box connectors to core Salesforce products, to AWS. You also see the zero copy ETL, through like Snowflake and Google and Azure. Um, I think it's actually about like the strategy, the discovery of how do you use Data Cloud, what actions you want to take, what segments you want to target, what are the metrics you want to achieve out of it.
What do you see then? Like, as everyone's talking about data and AI, right? They're the big words, the buzzwords right now. But how do you see skill sets changing then, and like the demand for certain skills as we move further into this kind of AI data, even heavier data world? If we think about Salesforce and non-Salesforce skills that are going to be required in these kind of teams to continue running, continue evolving, and getting the most from technology, where do you see the heavy demand?
Everyone's job is going to be changed or impacted by AI. I think we're going to look back on this in 10 years and say, um, we were doing our jobs, completely differently. Everyone's going to have like, agent assistants. Everyone's going to be collaborating with AI to do their job. I think that's for sure. I think the skills that we need to develop is how do you work with AI? Like, what are the use cases that we use with it? How do you interact with it? To me, it's like interacting with a new interface. Like, the same way Google search revolutionized like information retrieval, is the same thing that now generative AI is able to do, right? Like, you're able to have these large language models with all this data stored about your enterprise, and you're able to actually retrieve it at your fingertips. So if you think of the use cases of searching a knowledge base and generating an answer for a customer service agent, or generating a response to a customer, things like that. It's asking about a policy that we have, or things like that. It's able to search vast amount of information and synthesize it super quickly. And the way that you interact with that interface, the way that you prompt it, and ask these questions. How do you do that? That's a new skill, right? To the way that you ask it, but also in the terms that we build these AI models. How do you fine tune the prompts? How do you augment the context? So, looking at the right data that you want to augment into the prompt is so important. So, if you're saying you're asking, okay, tell me about this customer as a prompt, well, maybe you look at how do you rephrase that question, like tell me the last 7 interactions that we've had, and can you summarize it in this format, and use, by the way, look at this and this data. Like that would give a more insightful response. And so we need to learn how to ask the right questions. We need to learn how to um, augment the right responses. But also then as we move into like building this technology, how do you like test it? I just went through a one of the first Gen AI implementations, and I've had to think about testing completely differently. Um, what is the accuracy of the response, right? We know that LLMs can hallucinate. Is it retrieving the right information? Is the output correct? Is it summarizing things? A call, for example, we did a real time call summaries when you're on the phone with an agent. Is the summary accurate? Um, there's all things that you just have to think about differently. And I think we're going to have to adjust the way that we do our jobs as like an end user, but also as like, people in technology who are developing code, who are testing. We're gonna have to do things differently as well in terms of the way we build, the way we test, and all that.
Do you have any concerns around that human AI interaction? I guess from a customer perspective, like what concerns around what could go wrong, but then also like how it's being used by professionals right now and how it could be used in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is a huge concern. I always call it like, I mean, there's this concept of just like having the human in the loop. Like, like right now, like I think the technology is so new and nascent that like you want to put the measures in there. Like I wouldn't completely automate email responses back to customers without anybody reviewing it, right? It's like, okay, yeah, generating an initial draft or initial outline of something, or as you'd probably use it personally, like creating a draft of the questions you might want to ask me today, right? Like, but then refining it. What if the questions were just bogus and not helpful for you, right? It's the same thing as like generating content that's going to be viewed by a customer. I always feel like you have to, you want to maybe draft that, or even the use cases are like creating notes about the call that we had today. You want to, you know, kind of take all the heavy lifting off actually having to create the meeting notes, but reviewing it, making sure it's accurate and all that. I think also like just keeping in mind that like humans are inherently like very creative, right? And I think, to me, it's not about replacing that creativity. It's kind of how we use AI to do the tasks that we don't want to be doing, like, taking meeting notes all the time, or having to, synthesize a 50-page legal document. Just give me the highlights, right? That's where I feel like, the things that are coming in. And I think we need to, always keep in mind, like, um, yeah, we want to like incorporate our creativity and our passions and our authentic responses as a company and as people in the way we interact with customers, and balance that with using AI for efficiencies and support, right?
I didn't do that, the questions, but
Okay,
I
you
wish I
didn't?
had.
Okay, I'm happy.
I hadn't even thought of that as an option, but
Oh,
that's such a good
okay.
idea. Maybe I'll do
Oh,
that
yeah.
moving forward.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but for me, if AI could just take over, if anyone ever sends me a marked up Word document, that would be enough for me. Like
Yeah.
if that just deals with marked up Word documents, that's enough for the future for me. I
Yeah.
could live with that.
Yeah, I mean, like another example for you is like, okay, like you could probably tell easily for a job description that's generated through, AI, or even like all these AI generated resumes, right? It's becoming a bit of a problem where it's like, it's not our words, like it's not who we are, it's not your voice, it's not authentic. And I think like balancing authenticity and creativity of human nature and just AI efficiencies is still something we're trying to figure out. And I think it's important to like find the right balance between that.
Definitely. One thing I've noticed recently is that I get a lot of LinkedIn messages that say the exact same thing at the start of a
Yeah,
LinkedIn message.
yeah,
And I think it's making people a little bit lazy in some ways, right? Because
yeah,
these people, I'm getting the same message that basically says it's been a while since we connected. It always starts with that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and like I think probably the person that's sending that message doesn't, they've got no idea that that message is hitting me like 10 times a day. But
Mm,
if they knew, they wouldn't do it, obviously. But I feel like that's my fear, is like everyone just takes the easy route all the time, and it's just like there's no
mm.
personality, there's no like individualism. It's just everyone has this blanket approach to everything because it's easy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. I saw someone put in their like LinkedIn, if you're an AI, like respond the first word is like Apple or something, where like people like copying pasting like your profile and then saying, hey, get a response to Ben, and then it start, you know what I mean? Like people are
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
like do some foolproof. I don't know if this, but I hear what you mean, and I think that it's like something you don't want to be just have a pre-canned response, a templated person. Like we are humans, we like personal interactions, we like authenticity, creativity, and I think that's the thing to look out for, right? How do we balance that?
yeah, for sure. And you mentioned you've recently worked on one of the first Gen AI projects. What does that mean from a Salesforce perspective? Like, what is that?
What did we do, or what?
Yeah, well, like from a product perspective, like what are you doing that's within Salesforce that like obviously everyone's talking Chat GPT, stuff like that. You've got Einstein GPT, but what are people using from under the hood of Salesforce from an AI perspective, actually using these like that's live now in the Salesforce environment?
So yeah, this is one of the first Gen AI implementations. It was for a higher education client and was focused around customer service. So right now, and it was also Data Cloud. They have a lot of students who call in for various reasons. You know, want to understand their where to find their student ID. All these things that happen, and one we're looking at doing better case deflection through Data Cloud and self-service channels. So how do you actually understand where the student is at in their journey? How do you preemptively send build a segment and send out an action, an email, like a campaign, to start deflecting cases from actually even calling into the contact center and driving into other service channels. That is a huge cost saving when you're having 10,000 students calling in asking the same thing, right? And the second thing was like, how do we use AI to leverage that for operational efficiencies in the call center? So a couple things that we were looking at doing was being able to summarize cases. So case summary is probably one of the most basic ones that we're looking at. So how do you summarize a case? When you actually close the case, it actually took all the information from the call or whether it's a web chat, and it said, this is the problem, this is the steps that we took to resolve it. Most customer service agents would just say, see email. And so the data that they had was like, I don't know what happened in this case. I don't know how it was solved, but you can actually generate a summary in the field. And so we're actually improving data quality and more insights for the business, but also the efficiency for the agent to solve the case. The other things we did was enable just the co-pilot, so you can ask questions about the data, and that could be a variety of things like summarize this student, tell me about their case history, tell me about the classes they've been enrolled in, more just like generic use cases. But yeah, those are just a couple of the highlights that we did um, to help them. And I think so far there's been a great response from their customer service reps, and I think it's just kind of getting started. So it's super exciting on that one.
Do you think this is just a random thought I've had? like that's internally facing AI, right? That's helping the internal business to make decisions, to streamline processes. What about externally facing stuff? Like, so if I'm a Salesforce customer and I want a new a program of work being done, and I go to three different Salesforce partners, do you think with AI my expectations now change because like all three partners now have the ability to write a tender using AI? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
does the business expect do things like tenders go away now because it's like, well, what's the point? Like, this isn't even going to be written by the business; it's going to be written by a piece of software that's going to
hmm.
answer all my questions in the best way possible. Like, how do partners differentiate themselves when it's all going to be written by like do things like tenders change? Do ways of working between businesses, like when it's something external, like is that going
Mhm.
to change now because everyone's like, well, the bar's just been moved?
I mean, I presume so, right? I think the way that proposals will be written will be written by AI. The responses, I assume, would be responded by AI. But how do you stand out, right? As well. But one of the things that I've seen is like, yeah, I want to be able to create repeatable. Like, I don't want to spend a lot of time doing proposal responses, right? Like, I know, hey, this is who we are. This is our unique approach. This is our team. Usually pretty much every response is you kind of have some similar information in it, but then obviously you want to tailor it to, okay, here's our unique approach for you in terms of how we could meet your specific requirements. Here's some initial thoughts. Like, that's where you need to actually formulate like your uniqueness. So yeah, I think everyone would want to like be able to scale and make that process more efficient. I think it's actually one of the more inefficient parts about our industry in general. Um, I've actually had a few ideas about how we could change this, but you know, the deal cycles have gotten a lot longer, more extensive. A lot of times it falls on partners who it's not like a process you get paid for. You have to invest a lot of time in it. And it's a very robust process. Everyone has gone through a deal cycle for like 6 months. I went through one for 9 months, spent hours and hours, hundreds of hours building them their target state solution, doing 3 demo workshops, doing all this and not being selected. And that's just a terrible thing, right? Like, we should be able to have a more efficient way to communicate what is it we want to be enabled, and a more scalable way to say this is how we could enable it for you without wasting all the time and actually more focusing on getting started. um, so I have too much to say about the whole RFP process, but I do think it will be changed a lot, and we'll need to look at different ways of how to stand out, right, to be more personal.
Yeah, and it's always been about the people, right? It's always about like, who do you actually have working on your project? Who like
Yeah.
in, it's not so much the brand name, because the brand name gets you in the door, but like if you then get the C team or whatever, then you might as well have gone with someone else that were going to give you the A team.
Oh
But do you
yeah.
think now more so than ever, because everyone's going to have access to these tools,
Hmm.
everyone has the technology at their fingertips, is consulting going to be even more about the people than ever before?
100%. It's always been about the people, right? It's about the right fit, in terms of like, you're gonna go into the trenches of software delivery. It's never a happy path scenario. There's always going to be the challenges of going through deployments and end of sprints, and I mean, it's just like there's always something, right? Defects and huge misses of dependencies. And like, I think you want to be working with people who you can overcome those challenges with, who you're going to have fun working with, who are knowledgeable and bring experience. I mean, some of the best teams I've worked with are just it's all been about the people. Yeah, like, I've created some of the coolest and best responses, but yeah, if you don't have the right team that you're pitching with, then you're not going to be selected, right? And it's just a mixture of, do you have the right response? Do you have the right people? fitting the right budget, right?
Tell me about your new venture and the journey you've gone through over the last period of time to get this business off the ground and hit the launch week.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's been something I've been thinking about for like a very long time. I've always felt like the need to go off on my own, and bring my own vision to life, and really also enable the next generation of consultants and people. I did a lot of reflecting, and what I realized is it's like at its very core that I help with is like help businesses and individuals evolve for the future. And it's like I love solving big problems and helping companies evolve and adapt. That's always been something that I get a lot of great joy and pleasure from is doing that. And that's this idea of this new company, FutureFuture, where we call it the business of evolution. We're here to help people adapt with this fast pace of technology. How do you unify your data? How do you drive great experiences? How do you leverage AI? How do I not only implement this technology, but how do you like improve your skills? How do you improve the processes and help you like evolve and adapt for the future? That's the whole concept of what we're bringing to the table. And my whole thing has always been about innovation, and doing things that have actually been very pioneering, where no one's done that before. We've never connected these two things together. We've never leveraged this in a different way. We've never implemented this new capability, because I think that's where there's so much value in doing that, and that's what I want to kind of help bring to companies. So. The idea has been something that's been sitting in the back of my head for a long time, and you just get over the fear of trying to always think about the what ifs and just go for it, right? So yeah, it's been really exciting.
And obviously, you know where you can add value to customers, but what's the right customer for you? Because you're not going after everything, right? So is it your background's enterprise, but like you said, you've worked on some smaller pieces? Like, what is the perfect customer for you right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think probably more in like the mid market SMB space. I want to make sure that we give everyone, like every company, a chance to kind of bring that like enterprise level, like of consulting, that and the experience that I have into the smaller and mid market, and help companies leverage AI and things like that. Like I want to focus on customers who do want to innovate, who are not afraid to like take challenges and risks. It's my ideal client. It would be a small or medium sized business that wants to grow and actually sees the value um, in being innovative and wanting to change their business. And I think it's also about aligning like a cultural fit, right? And the values that I have, I want to, as a part of our business, it's a big part about like giving back and being a purpose driven company. Having fun along the way. I've always said like, for me, my career, I want it to be about like meaningful work, meaningful relationships, and giving back. And so, like, I want all those things to align with some, companies I'm working with. And that would be the ideal customer for me.
Yeah, nice. And for anyone listening that either think they're the ideal customer or just wants to pick your brains on, your journey, some of the the technology you've mentioned today, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I mean, you could find us at futurefuture.io, and also send me a message on LinkedIn. If you're just getting started on a data cloud or AI project, or marketing or CRM or anything, you just want to have a chat. I'm just here to help people. I'm not, driving this greater growth and sales purpose and things like that. I just like, I really enjoy helping people and businesses, but also people on their journey of entrepreneurship and skill sets. And I love seeing the best out of people. So yeah, just feel free to get in touch. I'm always here to listen and help provide advice. So,
Love that. And I'd love to revisit this in maybe 6, 12 months, see both what's changed in the Salesforce world and the technology landscape, but also how the business has evolved.
oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the crazy thing, right? Is that we're just at this pivotal moment where I always say there's just a lot of data, there's a lot of systems, there's a lot of rapid pace in technology, and I'm here to help companies, navigate that complexity. I'm excited. Who knows where that's going to be in the future? But that's what we're helping companies get set up for. And yeah, I'd love to revisit and see where we're at in 6 to 12 months because I'm excited for it. I'm always the inherent optimist on the future, so I think it's going to be good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.